bill, an act, an amendment of the Constitution, what's inside it, and what we've discovered today of what they're actually doing. And it's written in, and the bill was put forward by a famous few people at the moment, and it was introduced to Leinster House and passed, but it was introduced by deputies Richie Boy Barrett, Mick Barry, Gino Kenny, Paul Murphy, and Braid Smith. So, you know, Article 43 protects private property, and they're calling this the 39th Amendment, right? But it's actually not, because if it gets passed, it'll be actually the 33rd amendment to the Constitution. That was what was passed. So you think of the number 33, which is significant in itself. But what they're going to do is remove definitely Article 43, but there are Section 1, Section 2, and a schedule that we haven't even delved into yet. So just a brief for people to understand, and how hopefully this will bring people towards An Bunreacht and understanding the Constitution, or at least reading the fundamental articles, which are 40, 41, 2, 3, and 4. But in particular, what they're talking about here is Article 43, which is your right to private property. And private property means what you can inherit, or what you can become as a natural wealth to you as private. That's your right. They're trying to remove that, and they remove man. You can come in there now and then a second say it right. So the Constitution, this is the amendment, what they're looking to do. The Constitution is hereby amended, or will be, as follows. The article, the text of which is set out in Part 1 on the schedule, shall be inserted after Section 2, Article 43 in the Irish text. Article 2, the text, it just says the same about the English text, right? And then the citation, the amendment of the Constitution affected by this Act shall be called the 39th Amendment of the Constitution. So they're calling it that, but it's actually not going to be the literal 39th Amendment, because only so far to date, there was only 32 passes of amendments that are actually brought into changes of the Constitution. First one that we know being a fraud, because without referendum, but they're arguing that because they're using the omitted provisions of 51, but they did change the definition of the time of war and incorporated it into it. That's another story. So back to this. This Act may be cited as the 39th Amendment of the Constitution, Right to Housing Act, okay, in brackets. So here's where it gets serious for people. And we've been talking quite a lot about common good, and that's what they're using. So Part 1 and 2 of it, right? So the state in particular recognises the common good. The common good as including the right to secure affordable, dignified houses appropriate to the need for all the residents of Ireland. Remember, residents of Ireland, which can be anywhere, from anywhere, once they're residing here, and shall guarantee these rights through its laws, policies, and prioritisation of resources. This is where it gets serious. The state accordingly shall delimit the right to private property where it is necessary to ensure the common good, and to vindicate the said right to housing for all residents of Ireland. So basically what they're going to do is delimit what is your right to private property. And in Article 43, private property comes under natural rights, natural law. So they're removing natural law from the Constitution. So basically what I wanted to have this chat, because I was shocked when I actually seen it, and then I was reading, you know, in the case where like private property means you can inherit and banquet property, and you can have your own private property, and this is going to remove that. So if you have a property, whether it be a mansion or a farm or no matter what it is, and you have even a house somewhere in Ballsbridge or wherever you have your property, and your children or adult children looking to move out, they will have a right to a house from this. But as that house becomes empty and there's spare rooms, they could say, we're going to delimit what you have and give you less of your house and put people in there. Or even more worrying is when they remove Article 43, it removes what you can inherit, or not that you can actually physically inherit yourself, you can actually banquet and pass on to somebody else. So that means, if anything, God forbid, happens to you as the mother and father, the children who got their house will no longer have the right to the property of the family anymore. And that's what's being removed from this, what they're calling the 39th Amendment, but is actually the 33rd Amendment, physically, what they're trying to do. We were looking over lots of the other amendments today, but we're hoping that this will help us in bringing people to the Constitution and making them aware of what's going on with the Constitution in some way, shape or form. And it's like the 43rd article tells you that man's right, natural rights, is antecedent to positive law. And this is what they're trying to remove here. And we hope that people of Irish or of anywhere, it doesn't matter if you have property rights and you're here and you have natural rights to family property that you inherited and you want to pass on to your family members, this is what you're going to be losing by voting for this next referendum. That people before profit, Social Democrats, Sinn Féin, all these people have put into the House, so they seem to be the ones that are pushing this. And if, like the famous, you'll own nothing and be happy, this is their way of, it's going to happen to us. You want to come in on that there?
It's in the second stages now, yeah. This bill, we were looking today at it, and it's mad. It's mad to look at, because when you're reading this thing, it's just full of negative stuff for the men and women of Éire. It's taking your property, like Article 43. There you go. Article 43.2. It says the state accordingly guarantees to pass no law attempting to abolish the right of private property or private ownership or the general right to transfer, bequeath, which means to if you're given something, if somebody dies or whatever, left in a will, that's what bequeath means, and inherit property. So they're actually turning this, and they're taking, I believe this is a way of getting out to a different range of people, because now people can see how this book is going to benefit them. Because a lot of people, we were speaking with someone today, and they said really all people think about is money and property. And that's all people have on their mind. Is the only thing that really, if anything, if it benefits them in their property or money. And I believe this is something that people are going to really look at and say, hang on a minute, this guy was shocked. And it's something that has to be highlighted. I don't know why it wasn't talked about sooner. It was mad, because I found this morning, and I just said it to Rory, what do you make of that? And it's after coming to this, because it's the whole thing. And what do you think, Rory, about that? Or they're trying to amend this, do you think?
They're trying to amend, they're trying to amend it's what they're calling the 39th Amendment, but it's actually going to be the 33rd Amendment.
It's the wording they're using. So it's interesting, the 33rd Amendment as well, like, which is the wording is mad, and lads, I'll throw it back up here so everyone can see again, yeah? Everyone can see that, yeah? There you go.
Can I ask a question?
Please do.
Rory, so when you say that's the 39th, it was not the 39th Amendment, you're saying that there was only 33 amendments and those are the only ones that were passed. The other amendments that followed, so we have been working under those amendments, but they were never actually passed in the court, is that it?
No, what I'm saying is that, like, they call this the 39th Amendment, but some of the amendments didn't pass, whereby the people didn't actually put their hands up and say, yes, you can have that.
Right. But have we been working under those amendments at all? No.
No.
No. Okay, so yeah, why are they calling it the 39th then? They're nearly surmising or saying that we've been working under the other ones, or will be working under them maybe.
My understanding or reading of it is that they've had like 39 referendums.
Chances.
Well, they've had 30, no, they had, and then they didn't pass. They really only had 37 referendums. The first and second bill,
And 32 last.
they didn't. That was done without referendum. The First Amendment and the Second Amendment, there was no referendum. So then there
And
was.
I suppose really we want to call it the same in case people get mixed up, or they want to call it something different, I suppose.
Well, you see, there was 1 to 39 in the sense that they amended the First Amendment, the Second Amendment without referendum, and they used the excuse of the provisions in Article 51, right? But we could see the fraud in that. But then after that, they had 37 referendums, but only 32 passed. So to date, we've only had 32 referendums, but only in the Republic of Ireland constitution. But still, this is what they're doing. But it looks like to me that this, if they get it through, coincidentally is the 33rd. But that's not the significance. It's, for me, it's the people are like either listening or not listening. But what they need to do now is more than ever is have a look at the Constitution and see what am I voting for? What am I actually, when this referendum comes around, because nobody, and you can see who actually put the bill to the doll was the so-called opposition, and so you have the government of Ireland, which are the directors of the company, and all the so-called opposition. Every single one of them, and every one of this country that I've spoken to, are pushing for this, and you've seen them all. And it's coincidence that you look at last Saturday's parade, I'd only call it, of these people, and who were the prominent figures there were the same people that put this bill through, which is, the names are all on it. I can show you on the screen or share it on the, is it on the back here, is it? Here we are, yeah. So this was introduced by deputies Richie Boy Barry. Where was he on Saturday? Mick Barry, famous enough. Gino Kenny, Paul Murphy, and Breed Smith. So they were the prominent figures parading down O'Connell Street with this housing for all, refugees welcome here. So basically, everybody is gonna become what they call a resident, and you have all a right to a house, but no private property rights, which is, I mean, I don't know what to say about it. Only I just hope and pray that this doesn't pass, and I hope people, Irish people, white, black, red, yellow, whatever you want to call yourself, have a look at this and see what these parasites and these so-called housing for all mixed up people that are trying to push this through, see what the Constitution says, and hopefully it brings people to the Irish Constitution.
I mean, it could really even go to people being put out of their homes. I'm thinking about my mother. She lives in a house by herself, quite a big 3-bedroom house. She's an older woman. They could say to her, right, you have a right to a home, but there's a family that needs this home. There's a 1-bedroom flat for you.
Yes.
You know, kind of thing. And that's you know, my inheritance.
Bedroom tax, that's
Yeah, I'm going to read what it says right again one more time, very softly. The state accordingly shall delimit the right to private property. Delimit means like they can take so much for the way, or tell you can't have this, you can't have that, or like that.
There's a cap on it.
Yeah, the right to private property, where it's necessary to ensure the common good. They're using this all over the place, this common good at the moment. And I shared something today that someone used Article 1, and the judge quoted Article 1 and Article 6 as being the people, you know, which is we are the sovereign independent people, but they're using common good. And they're going to vindicate the said right of housing for all residents of Ireland. So they're going to delimit private property and give residents. So you're voting away. And I don't care what you want to be, left, right, up, down, top, bottom, whatever you want to be, whatever wing or whatever thing you want to describe yourself as being, to give away your property right and your natural right, it's basically human suicide. That's what I would say. It's that serious. Any other questions?
It's systematic genocide. Try reading out Article 43 and go through the provisions of private property law. So I have this on record here for you guys. So
Thanks,
take it
Mark.
from there.
Article 43, Mark.
Read it slowly
Right.
and go through it. The first. When you read the first provision of Article 43, which takes precedent,
Right.
it mentions man and private property. Then in the second provision, it mentions, but however, they can make provisions for civil, meaning contract, meaning business, So
Yeah.
explain that to the people. Go through it slowly and explain it to the people. Private property.
So Article 43, 1. The state acknowledges that man, in virtue of his rational being, has the natural right ascendant to positive law to the private ownership of external goods.
Can I read out the literal translation?
Yeah, here's the literal. We have the literal translation. Yeah, you were a great
Okay.
idea. You read that out
Oh,
there.
hold on. Read out that there. Let Darren finish. Let Darren finish what he's doing there. Because I have something very important here to do after this. Forget about the literal translation at the minute, because people are only going to look at that there. They're not going to look at the literal translation. So talk about what you have in front of you.
Okay, Mark.
Okay.
Right, so I'm after finishing there where it says private ownership of external goods, right? That's Article 43, 1, right?
Read that again, Darren. Read it clearly again, please.
So Article 43, 1, it says the state acknowledges that man, in virtue of his natural or his natural being, has the natural right ascendant to positive law to the private ownership of external goods. All right? We flip it over.
Word for word, take us through that. Naturally,
Right.
positive
So
law.
state,
And explain to the people what natural is. That's natural law. That's
natural,
the superior to all law. So take us through that.
okay. So the state acknowledges that man, so this man being you, living man, Irish national, yeah?
Body in front of the public. Man, you're not a person, man.
Yeah. Has the natural right, which means like a natural right was a God-given right, you know?
Absolutely. That's your inalienable right.
Yeah, you're inalienable. Or Article 1, right? So you go ascendant to positive law.
Means higher than.
Positive law is higher than.
Yeah,
Antecedent
means it's higher than positive law.
Oh, right. Antecedent to positive law, meaning it's higher than positive law. Sorry. To the private ownership.
That means it's a supreme law. Every other law comes under it, because legislation guidelines are all positive law. They're made by man, where this is God's law, and it is superior to all laws.
Yeah.
And they're acknowledging that within our constitution.
Yeah. You're spot on, Mark. The natural right ascendant to positive law, which means natural right is above positive law. To the private ownership of external goods. And we know what that means. The private ownership means it's your own.
Yes, but external goods being a car, an automobile, a house, because you've the inalienable right is you have the right to life, happiness, or life, whatever, in the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, meaning freedom, in the pursuit of happiness. That is all in the inalienable rights, and people need to understand that we have that in our provisions of the Constitution, and they're looking constitutional change. And if they change that, Well, what can they replace that with? Because there's nothing higher than that. We're actually going to subvert ourselves. We're gonna enslave ourselves even further, whereas we're not even achieving what we have already achieved because people are uneducated to the wording within the provisions of Article 43. Now, take us on to the next one. So we explain to people the exact opposite of what they're doing.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question on that?
What you're going to have to read out there, Rory, is what they're doing here now in this next article.
Yeah, okay. Let's just slow it down for a moment. Does someone just wanted to ask a quick question for a
Yeah,
minute?
can I ask a quick question on that? So it says that the state acknowledges that man can be me or you or a foreigner. They're still a living being. But do we look in this as An Bunreacht is for the people, by the Irish people, for the Irish people? Like this, the An Bunreacht is...
They can never be seen as, let me ask that, Rory. They can never be seen as a man in the eyes of the law in an Irish court. They cannot be part of the Irish nation because they were not born as Irish nationals. That is where you come in, Rory said it there. You go in as, I am a man, I am the nation. It takes man and woman to make up the Irish nation.
Yeah. So we're looking at this as under An Bunreacht. It's the Irish people this refers to. Because if you take that by itself, somebody could say, well, sure, aren't the foreigners men as well or whatever? But it's to do with the Irish people being sovereign and that.
I'm going to disagree a little bit here on this one, right? Because in virtue of his rational being, man has a natural right to individual private property. So if there's a man who is living on the land and has inherited property, that's his right to property. This is about man here. They're removing even man here, which is man, right?
It doesn't matter whether you're a foreigner or not, Sarah.
Yeah, just let me finish. This is actually bigger now than even Irish people. This is any man or woman that's on this island that has private property can actually, if they reject this amendment to the Constitution, will protect their right to that property, no matter if they're Irish or where they're from, as long as it's private property. So you'd imagine most of the private property on the island is owned by Irish men and women. A lot of it is corporate stuff, and they're trying to corporate everything. But I'm just reading something here, and it's basically the judges, there has been cases taken, I suppose, where people were trying to protect the right to what is private property, what is your natural inheritance, and what can it be, and is there limits to it? And there isn't. There is no limit to worldly wealth, is what they call it. So it's a constitutional rights to a bundle of rights which are founded in a contract. So you privately own stuff. This is what we need to be looking at. But if any of these rights together constitute or constitutions of ownership are abolished or restricted, as distinct from the abolish all of these rights, the absence of compensation or this restriction or abolished will make act which does this invalid of unjust attack on the property rights. So this is basically an unjust attack on property rights. They're asking people to vote for. It's crazy, and it's not even about Irish men or women. No. Obviously, we're trying to protect our land. But if there is a man or a woman and he wasn't born here, and his mother and father might have been born here, and he inherited a property here, this also includes them. This is
perfect. Yeah. And if you can present yourself as a living man in the eyes of the law, well, you have the right to do that. It doesn't matter what court it is in the world. We can't turn around and say foreigners. Foreigners don't. These caravans of people coming in own fucking nothing, and they're quite happy taking everything. That is what Klaus Schwab said. What Rory's only after reading out there is a legislation being of more articulated wording of you will own nothing and you will be happy. That's exactly what that is saying. You will own nothing and you will be happy. They are abolishing private ownership. And man, by doing that in virtue, they are abolishing natural law, God's law.
Yeah.
By being in your natural essence as a man, by your virtue.
And I would say this because, I mean, a lot of the time looking at politics from where I was looking at it, and you look at Leinster House and you look at the so-called acting governments, and then you look at the acting opposition, and you wonder through all the, especially the last 3 years, there was no opposition. The opposition was, if they were saying lock you down for 4 days, the opposition were saying it should be 6 days. That was the only opposition we had. And I was just saying to myself, what role are they playing in all of this? And they're the ones that are being used, or are taking the money and being used to all this new agenda, cross culture, and this new, I suppose, cross human agenda, and this culture they're trying to introduce. And now they're the ones that are housing for all, Ireland for all this nonsense. And these are the people that are putting this forward, which is, again, the names and shames.
You said it. You said it. This is a transhumanist agenda, okay? And by taking these so-called whatever, right, you are by virtue transhuman. Why? Because there's two different species within them, and it is cloning. That is the RMNA. Okay, so you have no natural right, and they are playing on that natural right, because 90% of the people in this country is so-called, or whatever, I wouldn't say it's that, but I would say it's pretty close to it, have taken this, and now they have, I said it from day one, you now have no natural rights. Now they're legislating to remove the natural rights.
They're asking people to vote it. They're asking, it's up to the people, right? They're actually going to full, in fairness to them, they've done the bill, they're getting the president will obviously sign it, and all this stuff will happen, and then it'll be put to referendum. And what we're saying to people now is, I mean, we've been shouting about the Constitution, and we spoke about Article 1, which makes you an Irish national, your birthright. Now, as virtue of just being a natural man or woman, you have a right to private property. And this is what they're actually asking you to vote. Do you want an island of housing for every resident? So look how many residents we have now. They're going to have the same entitlement as your family to your family home, or to anybody's home. It's all going to be equal. There is not going to be rights, but nobody will own anything. Because now, most of the bills, if anyone wants to have a look, people should, all the bills that they brought out, it's actually, you'd wonder how people actually, if they did vote for them, which they say with the 32, it's shocking.
Yeah.
Apart from, you would say, arguably the abortion referendum, I wouldn't even like to have an opinion on it. It was a fair enough. The rest of it, you'd say, why any rational man or woman looking at every bill that they've put in, would there even have been a vote for it, is beyond me. Never mind that it actually passed by the people. I know the Lisbon Treaty one was done twice, but the rest of them, it's just shocking.
You could see it like from the decline of the Catholic Church, I think, in 77 maybe, I think it might have been. But you could see from there onwards, the decline from, like you could see the referendums, all the madder things coming out and the crazier stuff, and it's mad, like. But from Article 2, like when they started doing about the language and the text, like, is when they really started at it, I think. And
a big part of that referendum, when I was looking at it in the Good Friday Agreement, they knew this day was coming, the reintegration of the national territory. So when you look at how they amended that, they took the reintegration of the national territory to the reintegration of the people. So they're bringing the people out of it. So which means it looks like they're trying to they're separating the actual territory. So they're just going to make the people united under a corporation,
so
rather than the right to the whole.
I wonder is it the way they had Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. Sorry, Mark. I wonder is it the way they had.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. I was just going to say, take South Africa, right, and Johannesburg and places like that into consideration here. When Nelson Mandela went to jail for 40 years, he was locked up for apartheid, right? And that's because of war for lands of indigenous lands and all, right? And he got released, and he became the president, okay? And
Right.
they named it the Rainbow Nation.
Yeah.
The Rainbow Nation. And what they're doing here now with us after 800 years of war is saying we're an accommodating people and we are a new Rainbow Nation. And we're seeing that lie playing out. Now, the whole, if you drive down the Falls Road, they have a picture of Nelson Mandela with his hand out to a jail window, to another man with his hand out to a jail window, reaching across the divide with a big Rainbow Nation flag in it. And that's on the Falls Road.
That's a sign, isn't it? You're dead right there then. We're the second Rainbow Nation, or the new Rainbow Nation, is it? The new era. It's a new era for Rainbow Nation.
Open for business. Orland, open for business. Sorry, I'll let you continue there.
So, you see this, what I'm holding up here,
That's the Sinn Féin manifesto.
right? So, the Constitution of Sinn Féin, which is the first Dáil Éireann, the Sinn Féin manifesto. So, this was what the original Sinn Féin promised us compared to what's going on now. And you talk about Rainbow Nation, that's what made me think of the modern Sinn Féin. So will I read it out? It'll probably take me a couple of minutes.
There is that.
So the Constitution,
Read it out, read it nice and clear.
it was written.
What Sinn Féin actually were, the foundations of Sinn Féin and their actual manifesto actually is, rather than what has been pushed today.
So what I'm going to read is out of, I'm going to show you, right, which is the Irish Constitution, okay? So inside there we have what was voted on.
Guard, just tap your screen and it'll refocus it. Should refocus it anyway. It's a very bad picture, lads.
Is it?
Okay, well look, it's out of we have
Don't
inside
be on
it
the head where you read it.
the Constitution, then the Citizens Manual. So this is what, if you had went into libraries in the July when you were the state plebiscite, you would have seen a copy of the Constitution, right? You would have seen then a Citizens Manual to the Constitution to read, and then after that you would have seen the Sinn Féin manifesto. So this is how the Irish Republic was promised by Sinn Féin, the original Sinn Féin, right? And it reads, where the people of Ireland never relinquished the claim to separate nationhood, and whereas the provisional government of the Irish Republic, Easter 1916, in the name of the Irish people, and continuing the fight made by previous generations, reinserted the inalienable right of the Irish nation to sovereign independence, reinserted the alienable right of the Irish nation to sovereign independence, and reaffirmed the determination of the Irish people to achieve it. And whereas the proclamation of an Irish Republic, Easter 1916, and to maintain it, united the people of Ireland under the flag of the Irish Republic. And whereas on January the 21st, 1919, following a general election of December 1918, the duly elected representatives of the Irish people assembled in a national parliament proclaimed the independence of Ireland and ratified the establishment of the Irish Republic proclaimed in 1916, thus founding the Republic on a democratic basis of the free votes of the people of Ireland, with Dáil Éireann as its government. Be it resolved that we, the delegate representatives of the Irish people, in convocation assembled, hereby declare following to be the constitution of Sinn Féin. The name of the organisation shall be Sinn Féin. Sinn Féin aims at securing the international recognition of Ireland as an independent Irish republic. Having achieved that status, the Irish people may be referendum freely choose their own form of government. Choose their own form of government. 3. This object shall be attained through the Sinn Féin organisation, which shall, in the name of the sovereign Irish people, deny the right and oppose the will of the British Parliament and the British Crown or any other foreign government to legislate for Ireland. Make use of any and every means available to render the power of England to hold Ireland in subjection to military force or otherwise. Give its undivided allegiance and entire support to Dáil Éireann, the duly elected Parliament of Ireland, in the exercise of all its legislation functions and all the steps it legitimately takes to maintain public order, to provide for national defence, to secure the government, and to promote the general welfare of the whole people of Ireland. That's the original Sinn Féin.
So Sinn Féin have fully supported and says that the 1937, that's the draft, okay, Constitution, full 63, and they talk about not the people of the Republic of Ireland, the people of Ireland, the people of Éire, right?
Yeah.
And they fully and comprehensively and even written down have pledged to support the Irish Constitution. Now, who is the people talking about constitutional change on this island at the minute?
The political version of Sinn Féin.
So, is it not our duty under Article 9.2 of that very Constitution, fidelity to the nation, being the people, loyalty to the state, being Ireland, Éire, is a fundamental and political duty of all people.
Yeah.
Oh, aye, and on our thing, it also says, you see, you were talking there about the amendments, Roy, and how like it was possible for people to even pass when you're reading them, like, and you're sitting there and you're going, this is shocking, like, because people only do what their entrusted politicians are telling them, because people's apathy and complacency is what has got us to this particular point in time. And
Yes.
now people have got to the point where they're saying, how did we get to this point? Well, in the book in 1961, which Damien has, and it's called Irish Law and the Irish Constitution, on the very front page it says, it is not about the nobility or the contents of the Irish Constitution, it's about the watchfulness of the Irish people. So this is actually the Irish people's fault, because they have got complacent and they sat back and let people rule them like agents rather than being men and women, and Irish men and women standing up for what was fought for and died for, the people with a vision.
But a lot of the time, in saying that, right, like if you look, I don't know if you can see that or not, okay, but I read out, which is probably two-liners, okay, the amendment of the Constitution Act, and then I read out what they're saying, which is they're going to remove property rights. That's probably the most people are going to see, or even if most people won't even see that, they just listen to whoever they're following at the time, or whatever party their mother or father followed. It's like following a football club or a religion or a whatever belief, and people just listen to whatever the politicians tell them. At most, they might read this, right, which is two-liners, but in the background to this, there's section 1 Section 2, and a schedule. Now, I haven't read them myself yet, but I can only imagine what they say. Would be shocking if you really read into it. Because if you look at it also, you know the way we've looked at the minutes of the Dáil back in 1939 when they were making the First Amendment and stuff. You can also read on this. And I think people need to start looking at what these people are in this Dáil debating and talking about, and who's who and what they're actually trying to achieve by it, because it'll tell a story. So that's all.
You see that amendment you have in your hand, right?
Yes.
Right. Where did you get that?
I got that. I'll tell you where I got that, Mark. The first time I met Rory was in the town hall in Kilkenny, and they were talking about this bill. I think I don't know who organised it. Stephen Delaney and some other few, but it was just a town hall meeting, and Rory came down speaking. But they wanted to speak about this bill, and somebody gave me that night because I was looking through stuff this morning and I found this, and the IRB did a speech that night in Kilkenny, and I have a piece of paper that was with this. It was all in together. So, and I found it this morning and I looked at it. It was funny because Rory came down then and I just said it to him, what do you make of that? And all of a sudden, there's so much in it, like.
What's it saying the heading of it there, Darren? Because it's a very blurred picture. So read that out because it's very blurred.
So the heading of it, Mark, right? I'll show you, right? So it has the harp, right? Then it has the 39th amendment, but in the middle of the 30 and the 9th, it has a little mark, right? A little dot. Yeah. So that's is a Glossier, ASL Glossier, I think.
Yeah.
Amendment of the Constitution. Then it has right to housing in brackets. So that removes that off of it. Bill 2020. Yeah. So
okay. Can I just stop you there?
Of course you can.
You know how simple it is to get that, people. Every single one of us here on this call here have it in your hand, a phone, and Google, and you just Google up the amendments of the Constitution and proposed amendments of the Constitution, and then it'll take you in there to the government sites, and then you just tap on it and you start reading it, or you do what somebody has done there, because you see if you're reading something on your phone. I have always found that's why I print everything out that is of importance. Print it out, read over it, and digest it. If you're reading it off a phone screen, it does not penetrate into your mind. Print it out. You see the way you had the physical form there, and you went and looked at it today, and you have now a full, comprehensive understanding of what they are trying to achieve here. Thank you.
You know, it's you can go up on it. There's a PDF for anybody here. You can go up on the yoke. Like I have it. There's a PDF of this. You can just download it on your phone and print it off. It'll take you 5 minutes.
You don't even need to go in there. Just go on the government.ie amendments of the Constitution, and you'll have every amendment of the Irish Constitution there at the flick of a switch.
Yeah. And that's how we found out today, Mark, when we were looking at it, that if this does get passed...
That's why I know the Garda Síochána have never taken their oath in Irish. It is not written in Irish, and it is not in the Irish statute book in Irish. Therefore, who are they working for? And how is it even lawful? Because it is contrary to the Constitution, the provisions of the Constitution, Article 61 in the Irish Constitution. It is contrary to it. It is repugnant to the Irish Constitution because they don't have an oath in the first official national principle, text, and language.
There is no Article 61. So
that's correct, guy. So where do they get their authority from? That's a very interesting question.
Absolutely.
You know, so they're obviously a corporation. Sure, you can see it. You know, they derive their authority from Klaus Schwab and that little crowd. But I think probably we need to focus more on this stuff and trying to get this put across, because This is fucking mind blowing stuff, and it's of the utmost importance right now.
This needs to be debated.
Yeah, this is on like the second. This is on the second yoke there in the Dáil, right? So
we just were speaking about this yesterday, Roy.
Yeah.
We were speaking about this yesterday. I says, if they remove the line where it says, without woman in the house, society will become unfunctionable. And with that, if they remove the woman from the house being woman, man, without her in the house, society will become unfunctional. That will remove your property rights and all that, because everybody will default to everything. If they remove that one line, they remove fundamental rights, and that is Article 40 to 44. That is rights. And what they're doing in England and all that, and in other laws, they are trying to remove the Bill of Human Rights. They are trying to amend the Bill of Human Rights and private property. They have already introduced a bedroom tax in England, and Sinn Féin have held off on bedroom tax up here. But be under no illusion, if they are taking from one thing and putting it into that will not last. And that there will come up here where people, as you said there, Sarah Jane, your Mara has a 3-bedroom house. Well, they'll leave it that it is unaffordable, or she takes quarters or whatever into her house. Somebody, a stranger, into her house to rent out a room if it's a council property. And that's the fact. Or pay the tax to keep it empty.
Exactly right, Mark. And look, everybody knows in the world that there's something going on here, and they're going to bring in this new world order of own nothing, be happy, right? But for us, the reason we're doing this now is because we're all beating our heads up and saying, how can we get someone to have an interest in the Constitution? How is it the Constitution? Why would someone come onto the website and to gain something for themselves? Because that's selfish, and people are looking for something. And now we need to look at what this bill is. We've clearly seen in a couple of lines there that they're removing man. The only time man is mentioned is in Article 43 in natural rights, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm a betting man, and I would say if you bet on it, and we have a look at the minutes of the talking of them in the Dáil, we have a look at Section 1, Section 2, and the schedule, you'll probably find in there that they are actually trying to remove woman, and they're using that article where they're saying it ties woman to the sink. And you hear them saying that.
It comes like a cinnamon, Rory. If you put man in, it means woman as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is what you can say. We need to show people. Now we have this to show them. So what I'm saying is, like, put it all into concept, right? They're removing property rights. Property rights mean your natural right to whatever wealth it is that makes you wealthy. If it's your private ownership, you have it. But it's not only that. It's removing man, woman. And you see the big play with this cross agenda. What are they trying to remove? Man, woman, to them, you know? So it's a whole fight back, but it's massive for Irish people for now to get them, or any man or woman, to the Constitution and to reject this amendment. I think this is significant for us to bring it to the general population of why would they even want to look at the Constitution. Because it's constitutional change. That's what a referendum is.
Yeah. And when they're talking about constitutional change, you hear lately there Mary Lou on with Ryan Turbiddy on the Late Late Show, and he was saying, you know, you're the Taoiseach elect, you know, and she was sitting, well, let's not get ahead of the game. But she knows the game they're playing. And he says, well, when you get in, first thing surely on the agenda will be getting rid of the tricolour. That's Article 7. Green, white and orange. It's not green, white and gold. What does it say in Article 7 there? Green, white and orange. The national flag being the nation. It's not green, white and gold. Let me be very, very clear on that. Do not confuse orange with gold. I don't know how anybody confuses orange with gold. But
Yeah.
the other thing there that it's ridiculous what they're looking to do here. Then they're looking to remove Aron Levine. Now, it was the old IRA, the officials, and that were in the first All Ireland, and the likes of that came up with Aron Levine.
Yeah.
And that was only to pay respect to the fallen dead of the nation to achieve nationhood. That's it. But Mary Lou is quite happy. She changed the subject because she looked at Ryan and she says, "It's too early for that conversation yet, Ryan."
Yeah, and if they remove man, woman, and natural rights from Article 43, which is inalienable right, by virtue of this amendment, when it comes to they're removing the flag or they're removing the national anthem or they're removing anything else, we won't have a say because we don't have that natural right to these things anymore. So removing a man from his natural rights is
Huge.
like it's I don't even have the words to put into
You're 100% correct. If they remove natural rights, they're removing the Bible, they're removing God, they're removing natural law. That's what they're removing. And if you remove that, then you go into legislation and legalese. And that is for fictional character. And what is a fictional character? Well, it's transhuman.
I'm going to write the first thing your man says here. The right of private property is a personal right. Listen to this line, right? In virtue of his rational being, man has a natural right to individual or private ownership of worldly wealth. Worldly wealth, people think when you talk wealth, oh, he has a bigger house than me. It's not. Wealth means, have entitlements, you have a wealth of, because freedom. So when they remove
your health is your wealth.
Everything, you don't have a right.
Right, sorry lads for interrupting you, right? But I'm just sitting down here reading like the minutes of this bill, right? You can go on and you can read it, right? But this is what they say. Listen to this.
Where's
right?
that link? Just
you can go on if you go on to Oireachtas.ie. Right? Deputy Paul Murphy says this, right? Listen to this now, right? The far right in this country has been trying to capitalise on the fears of people around COVID. They will try to build on that in the aftermath of COVID, and they will try to take up the issue of housing. They know we're coming. They know that they know what they're doing is wrong.
Oh, well, yeah.
They're going to expect this.
They have already planned for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They will try to point the blame for the housing issue on the particular immigrants and say
they've already told you. Yeah, you're only after reading it out.
This debate happened like back in 2020. Before
how far ahead of schedule are they?
Right.
So remember, this is 2 years old. He has this, and we only picked it up today. So this is the start of it.
Yeah.
So look, what we need to say to people about political parties, right? Because no matter what you do, if you're part of a political party, you're either right wing or left wing. So to be tarnished as a far right, if you're connected in any way, shape or form to a right wing party, as the new style they're being called now, you've connected yourself to that, and it's important that we don't. Now, if an election comes up, which it is going to come up, maybe 2024, remember, as people, we are not part of the parties that go for these elections.
Yeah.
But if we have our all caps name on the electrical roll or whatever it's called, we can then decide if we want to vote. But for now, I wouldn't be connecting myself to any political parties at the moment, because they're talking about this in the Dáil, right? If you're standing at a protest, as people are calling it, I would say we're rejecting all of this. It's important that you do it as people, because if you're standing with a right wing, that gives the left wing the right not to talk to you or engage with you, because I'm not talking to that far right. And then it's the same. So it's important for people to realise now not to get involved in politics, but to look at the Constitution and what this amendment is about and understand it very quickly.
Exercise your concerns. Concerns be heard and concerns be met.
Yeah. You know, these political parties have, we all know the sales pitch. So why do we need to start following them around? Why do people in a people's movement need to be allowing them to use it as a promotion for whatever agenda they have? Doesn't mean we don't agree with them or might not vote for them in that corporation when it comes to it. But to be seen to be part of them, it doesn't make you an inalienable sovereign man or woman, because you're not. Everyone's equal, and that can't be part of any society. This has to come from the people. And when it comes to vote, it's going to be the people that are going to decide. So what are we voting for?
A party is incorporated because it's more than one. Okay? A people is you know, you're one. We're one. You know what I mean? But like what I was going to say there is, what they're trying to remove here is the fundamental rights. That is the big push here. And they're using the English legislation of Article 6.1 to further this agenda. Whereas under Article 63, as pursuant to Article 52.2, the first official national principal text is Irish. And that has supremacy. So if it's not written in Irish, it is not law.
Yeah, we know, that's very true. And, you know, people need to know the difference between
It's a good sum up.
the benefit of the people being the Irish people, the people being the man, the woman, the nation. None of this is benefiting us.
No.
And they're using common good, and in the legal world and the corporate world, they say that common good is the same as benefit of the people. But the state and their version of common good is the complete opposite to what is the benefit of the people.
So on the front of Bunreath na HÉireann, it does say the common good. So that is their translation of it. Is that, am I right in saying that? And that we need to sort of get the actual translation.
No, you go by the Irish text.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So in order for us to know exactly what it says, you guys are getting it translated. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Because it is a wee bit confusing when I saw common good earlier on from what was posted up in Bunreath.
Well, you're reading English. You're reading English.
Well, I read the whole thing. So what I'm saying is in English, it does say the common good. So in my mind, I was going, I have to keep reminding myself that's their translation.
That's the Anglo-Saxon law.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask everybody, because this is being recorded, and this here's a very, very serious question, what I'm about to ask here now, and maybe the three people in the room sitting there will give me an honest and fair answer. In all your lives, Rory, you're 47, right? I'm 40, going on 44. In all your lives, during your voting careers and throughout, even watching your mothers and fathers growing up, and the going to the polls and all that, and they vote for one party or the other party. And can I ask this question? Has any political party that has ever got into government ever benefited the people? Any of the legislation that they put through, has it ever benefited the people? Out of all the amendments that you have there, has any of them ever benefited the Irish people?
No.
See, they've amended us to that, right? So they're going into
Just a categorical no.
No.
So
no.
That question is a serious question. So going and voting for these new political parties and all with no fucking proper mandates, they're being told by the political NGOs what to say. We need a left wing and we need a right wing government. And that's what they're trying to do. The same as all the European governments and all that. We need a left and a right wing government. Why are they doing that? Because Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael stood on the 100th anniversary of Béal na Bláth of Michael Collins' death, and they said the Civil War is over because the team stood there and Barrack said the Civil War is over. So if the Civil War is over in this country where two people were divided, well, we need another divide. And that is left and right wing politics. And if you've left and right wing politics, it gets messy very, very quickly.
Yeah, well, listen, this is my big point that I'm saying to people, and if anybody does get to listen to this, and I'm guilty of it as much as anybody, everybody is talking about politics at the moment. Left wing, right wing, far right, and migration and immigration and plantation and all that stuff. This what we're talking about is this 39th Amendment is more important, and they'll distract everybody with left wing, right wing, all the nonsense that's going on, and then they'll have an election for all that nonsense, and probably on the same day there'll be a referendum for this, and people won't know what they're voting for. So look, it's time to start talking about this referendum, this new bill, as they call it.
Yeah, because Paul Rooney, after reading it out there from the Raptus website, Paul Murphy was calling this here 2 years ago. Is he fucking Houdini or what? Or is he Mystic Meg?
So you can go back. You can go back 2 years and read, and now you can see Sinn Féin supporting it in the minutes of it all this sort of. Yeah. This is what they call a bill. Is called an act to amend the Constitution. Whereas by virtue of Article 46 of the Constitution, any provisions of the Constitution may be amended in the manner provided by that article. Article 46 is where the President can sign it in and then it goes for referendum. They're going the full 9 yards with it, so it's happening. And where it is proposed to amend the Constitution. So they're proposing to amend the Constitution.
Rory, do you think it would be worthwhile noting the meanings of the amendments and we could put it on, just print it out and we can give it to people so people could read it?
Because this doesn't matter what other belief you have, this is going to affect you.
It doesn't matter
if you're a man or a woman.
Black, yellow, pink, purple, brown. If you have a property here, even if like you came from another country over the last whatever many years, and you have a property here, it doesn't matter even if you're an Irish citizen or you're whatever. You're a man, and that's your property.
Remember, your children are your property. Your daughter or sons.
It's not just that. Hell, like, look, you can go. That's another fucking story, isn't it? Like, because
just in virtue of being man or woman alone, you're giving up those natural rights just by being the virtue of man and woman alone. You are officially voting like a turkey for Christmas, and that is correct. You are voting to give up your superior law.
Yeah. And they're not hiding it.
No, lads. This goes through it goes through 5 little sessions there, right, and then it stops, and it goes from Dáil Éireann into Seanad Éireann, and it goes through. So this stuff is happening very fast. And you can view the debates. Like the last debate was in the 3rd of June 2021, and they're really talking about Sinn Féin is
you see that last one? What time at night did they pass it?
You know what, Mark? I don't know what time, mate. I'd probably check and see.
Because I think it was late into the middle of the night, and that was the same as the First Amendment was passed at 4:15 in the morning on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, okay, Rory.
Mark, I'm going to have to wrap up soon because I have a bit of a hike.
Okay, Terry's on there.
So we just wanted to, I hope this gets people genuinely, I don't care what other belief you have, really and truly. to understand what private property and natural rights for a man and a woman are, we just this is like, I don't know.
It's instrumental, it's imperative, it's of the utmost importance, because once you give this away, people, but you do not get it back. You do not get this back. And that's it, it's gone.
Yeah. It's like...
So look, it's something we need to do. So I hope get this recorded, get it edited in whatever way, and get the message out there. And
they're telling us. It says they shall delimit the right to private property in order to ensure the common good and vindicate the right to housing. We need to get on this. Delimit.
Somebody Google the definition of delimit. It is the same as de-based. And that is the front page of the Blue Constitution, D-based Latin.
It means to mark a boundary or to fix something.
To mark a boundary. So they're drawing lines, they're putting boundaries up for us. Natural meaning, they're putting boundaries up for us.
Big sheep in a pen, like.
What is it?
Yeah.
In the prison.
So every
prison. That's it, an open prison.
An open prison.
Oh yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And there's words they use in there in relation to it, and it is like actually what they do in courts is sort of make it, the sort of enshrine it, but they limit the right to pray. And everyone becomes a resident then, so it doesn't matter what the fuck, it's just crazy. But if they limit, I must go anyway.
You're incapable people in a residential home.
Yeah.
Who be put in the residential homes? The ill, infirmed, and old. So then you need an agent to look after you, and that's what that means. You are in a residential home. You're old and infirm.
The whole Ireland will be the whole era will be just a big full era, won't be maybe, but they want Ireland to be a big mental hospital.
Yeah, it's good.
Where they'll be the doctors going around checking on you.
Yeah.
Building your little, telling you, scary, because the pharmaceutical companies are big on it too, like, they're doping people out of their heads, it's terrible what they're at, like.
Legalised drugs, drug pushers.
Yeah, they are, like, I had a friend there just died the other day from tablets that the doctor was giving him, like, he was pumping them out prescriptions every fucking week. He went up to him 90 this, 90 that, 100 this. Anyway, lads, I have to hang up this. You're there, yeah? Still there? Can you hear me?
We're still here.
Good stuff. My phone ran there, so. But so listen, lads. Rory is going to scoot off, and I think we're going to do the same and get a bit of dinner and shit. Yeah. Because we had a busy old day.
No problem. Thanks this evening, and thanks for explaining that a wee bit better, so for people to listen. I have this recorded. As soon as it comes up, I'll stick it onto the group.
Good man, Mark. And be strong advise anybody here, lads, on the group, please, if you can, go online, go on to this and read this bill and have a look through it. Oh, fuck.
Just look up the amendments of the Constitution.
Well, Sarah, go on it, like, you can look it up. There it is there, look. I have it up on my screen already. I'm just looking through it here.
Sarah was contacting me today, I think, and she was talking about maybe going down tomorrow and supporting you.
Yeah, more than welcome, lads. Look.
Just give you a wee touch there, Donald, before you go, about getting people down and give them information. People thought it was in Cork, darn. It's in Dublin, in the CCJ in Phoenix Park.
Yeah, that's right. The CCJ Court 2. And so we'll be there. You'll see us when we go up anyway. We'll probably be outside.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And thanks for the information, guys.
God bless you all, lads.
You're welcome.
God bless you all too. Good night.
Yeah. Mark,
you end that chat, will you, Don?
Bye, Mark.
You end the chat, will you?
Yeah, I'll end it there, Mark. Yeah. Right, lads. See you all tomorrow. God bless.